let's talk about Conformity Gate. This is basically how the Duffer Brothers drove their own fandom insane for 7 days. This theory was so popular that it crashed Netflix itself. So as we know, Stranger Things, the finale, came out on December 31st, 2025. And just 2 days later, there was a theory that the 10-year series was actually not over and that there was another episode coming out a week later. As a result, this prompted so many people to create videos analyzing continuity errors, hidden clues in music, hidden clues in the show, interviews by the actors themselves, set design. Literally everything was picked apart and contributing to the mass fan theory known as Conformity Gate. Now, why did this happen? After watching the documentary based on the final season of Stranger Things, I think we can narrow it down to a couple of reasons why this season was so criticized in comparison to other seasons. Poor writing. There were a lot of plot holes in this season. There were many actors who came forward to remind the writers of their character's lore, essentially. We have, first in the documentary, we have Maya, who plays Robin. She came forward to the directors and reminded them that her and Vicky were not together. Noah had to confront the writers and tell them that they needed to add a scene to close off a storyline between two characters. And then we also had Millie confronting the writers about her ending. In addition to that, we also had the lack of demodogs, demogorgons, demobats, things that had been previously established in the lore of the world were seemingly breaking conventions for this one season. There is water in the Upside Down, something that never happens. The fact that the Upside Down doesn't have as many demogorgons, demobats, other creatures that were previously going after the main characters are gone. There is the lack of Will being connected to the hive mind is completely scrapped. And that many of these ideas are talked about in the finale. And while there isn't a clear reason for why they were scrapped, one writer says that demo fatigue was a big factor in their decision to erase the creatures from the Upside Down. It was also revealed in the documentary that the writers did not have a fully fleshed out script before heading into episode 8, the finale. Hey guys, so I'm currently editing right now. Since the documentary has come out, there have been people who saw ChatGPT and Reddit tabs open on their computer, and that would be insane if they used those places to help them write the finale, but also not because did you see the finale? All of these things led to a bunch of continuity errors, a bunch of character issues with not only the final episode, but the season as a whole. The writing is most likely a result of the burnout that the Duffer Brothers have been faced with and the pressure that they've had to continue a series that they don't have any enthusiasm for. However, it became clear later on that the fan base was going to create an ending that appealed to their sensibilities. Anyway, Conformity Gate is the idea that the audience and Mike Wheeler are being Vecna'd. Essentially, all of our memories are being replaced with the ones that are created by Vecna, and we are in a dimension world that he's built especially for Mike, which realizes his worst nightmares. And all of this is kind of funny because they did not intend for any of this to happen. However, as the clues and evidence began to amount, as people went deeper and deeper going through the archives of the WSQK radio, which was a promotional joint venture between a radio station and Stranger Things in order to promote the new season. There was also hints from books and all across different media for Stranger Things that was evidence for Conformity Gate. The differences in cast answers also contributed to the idea that there were different finales and added to the theory that the finale that we saw is not the finale that is the legitimate end of the series. Now, after January 7th passed, it led people to believe that the documentary that was announced was going to be imitating Wes Craven's documentary series, where the cast and crew are being haunted by Freddy Krueger within the documentary itself. Fans thought this because of the references that the Duffer Brothers made to Wes Craven's work and many other similar works that are related to time travel, like A Wrinkle in Time and Back to the Future. Oh, and The Truman Show. While none of these theories turned out to be true, Conformity Gate is the answer to a lot of fans who were dissatisfied with the finale, and a fan theory based on the setup from previous seasons to help fill in the gaps that the finale left behind. The Duffer Brothers had a $400 million budget, an extended timeline, full support from Netflix for their creative vision, and was able to work with some of the best directors of the 21st century, and they had trouble sticking the landing. I don't think Conformity Gate is the only answer to solve all of these questions, but it is a very popular fan theory that was covered in Forbes. A lot of the creators behind the show are acting like the fans are crazy for even suggesting that this theory could be a thing. The theory about there being new episodes and Conformity Gate are two separate things. I do think that this explains a lot of why the theory about there being new episodes and Conformity Gate are two separate things. I do think that this explains a lot of why the fans are upset, because they expected a big finale to end this show on. And it's something that they were promised in countless interviews if they were paying attention. And if you are a part of the general audience, it probably didn't bother you as much. But if you like these characters, you were paying attention to what they were saying, it makes more sense. Regardless, Conformity Gate is a conspiracy theory that's been debunked multiple times. The finale is what we got. And that finale has a lot of issues and has been widely criticized for plot holes, dialogue, and the issue of certain character arcs. A lot of people wish for another episode to be coming, not because they're not ready for the series to be over with, but because the finale was not what the creators said that it would be, and also because the ending arcs for certain characters reinforces conformity and the idea that the Duffer Brothers initially started the entire show based on was that misfits have a place. In this finale, they don't. Due to all the specific dates that are mentioned in the show but never explained, a lot of people were filling in the gaps to explain it themselves, which led to the mass psychosis known as Conformity Gate. And that's how the Duffer Brothers drove their entire fan base insane for 7 days. And now I'm going to get into my thoughts on the finale. I was riding the Conformity Gate wave. I was like, if it happens, it's cool. I want to see what y'all are theorizing. Y'all came up with so much evidence, it's actually crazy. I think that's why people are so upset, because there's a loss of potential. You have like amazing actors, amazing SFX, VFX people doing their jobs. You have the prop makers. Everything was on 10. The music and the writing just brought it all down, unfortunately. And a lot of people are attributing that to burnout, the lack of one of the writers who created the first Shadow, which is the play based on the show, not being in the writer's room. They're also putting it on the writers going through a tough time, the amount of time between seasons that they haven't had to write. Basically, a whole bunch of other factors that might have influenced the show to take a nosedive. The actors don't get to write their endings, and they didn't have much say in the writing process, of course. But what they did do was try to advocate for the characters where they could, and I think you can see that in some ways. And I'm glad we're able to see the ways that they did fight for their characters. I think what they've done with Will's character especially is not only sad, but disgusting, because they used Noah, used his sexuality, used his character sexuality for basically diversity points, even though the whole show is kind of based off of his trauma that he's had to live with, his internalized homophobia, and we just don't cover it. In fact, the scene that spoke to so many people in Sorcerer was finally a moment where Will, who has been seen as weak and has been tortured by Vecna for the last 4 seasons, is finally in a position of power to demand acceptance from other people. And he doesn't even get that in the finale. In fact, he is told to have empathy for his abuser, an abuser who never seeks redemption. We're explicitly told in the first Shadow play, and just in the series in general, that they're connected together through similarities in their life and through important dates like their birthday. It feels too open-ended for a show that has done endings in the past supremely well. Anyway, that's how the Duffer Brothers essentially made their entire fandom go crazy in 7 days, and here are my thoughts on the finale. Okay, how do I articulate how upset I am? I don't know. Okay, I don't have a script. I don't even have bullet points. I'm just gonna talk. It's gonna be about the finale. I'm not gonna go through the events. I'm gonna assume that the people who've watched this have already watched the finale. So let's talk about it. Okay, so the Duffer Brothers, pre-season 5, said that the reason for November 6th being the frozen date would become clear. They also said that it would get more into the backstory of Hawkins' lab. They said that the story would come around full circle. They also said that it would be a dark Christmas, but that they're not Game of Thrones. So they initially started writing around 2022, which gives them like 3 years of writing, post-production, production, filming, all of that. The finale, So just to get ahead of it, if you like this finale, I'm happy for you. I really am happy for you. Yeah, good for you. I'm glad you like things. And if you like it, don't let me harsh your vibe. In fact, you should probably stop watching this video. I could not sleep. I could not sleep, and it was the new year, and I had trouble sleeping after watching this finale. That's my thoughts on it. I think it's clear with the lack of like demo bats, demo dogs, and it just being kind of Vecna in the abyss, Dimension X. There's no stakes. There's barely any. And when you defeat your villain in like 5 minutes, it kind of makes me think that the villain wasn't as strong as it was built up to be. And it really sucks because Jamie Campbell Bower, I believe, is the guy who plays Vecna, Henry Creel, is an amazing actor. Like, oh my god. The way he looks before he's about to go into the cave is just amazing. And he's so underutilized in this finale. There's not even really a standoff between Will and Vecna, even though it started with Will. He's the whole reason for, I would think he's the whole reason for the November 6th frozen date, but I really don't know. It's not really explained. Is it because that's when Henry gets his powers because of the Boy Scout badge that he has? I don't really know, which is frustrating when you say that these things are important and the Duffer Brothers were like, you need to pay attention to things will become clear, and it just didn't, and it wasn't clear. And we paused, we didn't watch it when it first came out, and we went through our theories based on the seasons prior of what was going to happen. And I was so disappointed to see that nothing really mattered. Nothing from previous seasons mattered at all. I'm so sick right now. It's crazy. We were also told that there would be a traitor. Is the traitor in the room with us? Like, where's the traitor? Don't know. It's just like the things that we had been building from season 4 don't really seem to come into play at all. Even things that were established in this season don't really come to like a conclusion. Everything is kind of left up to the audience and what you believe and what you think, which is really upsetting. I mean, even Max, Kali, and Elle going through Henry Creel's mind, we get to see like a little bit of the play, but it doesn't really become important. Like, what is the significance of the play? We don't know. Why is it the thing that he keeps in his like memory scape that they have to travel through? Why is it important? We don't know. We don't know. Like, I'm so disappointed. I do think that Hop's character, like him having that conversation with Elle, was great. Although I hate the way that, even though I did theorize that this would happen, that Elle would die, and they could compare her to Sarah. I really think that that's like not the greatest ending for Elle. I think she deserved to be with her friends and that she could be a normal girl like she always wanted. Like that's one of the things that she really wanted in her life, was to feel a sense of normalcy, and I kind of wish they had given it to her, because in a lot of like 80s movies, and I think that would have been great to give her that in the finale, something, anything. But yeah, so killing Vecna just like so easily just makes it seem like Vecna was never that powerful. And then the Duffer Brothers came out and said Vecna never would have thought that they'd like come up in the abyss. like are you kidding me? Like he never thought about that ever. He never thought about that. Like, hasn't he had like decades to think about this? And then having Holly be our main character throughout all of these episodes, and then she's barely in the finale, it's like a little weird. Like I don't want her to be in the finale, but they made her like such a pivotal character now in the season. At the very end of the episode, now it's important that we focus on other characters. It's like, what? Then obviously they kill Vecna, and I was like, there's still an hour left. There's an hour left of this show. What is this about? They kill Vecna, they get all the kids, the mind flayer stuff comes out of them. I was kind of expecting it to come out of Will as well, but they were like, yeah, the connection was severed. Like, we don't even see Will hurt when Joyce like chops off Vecna's head. We don't see that because the like, we want to focus on the battle. But like, there's just so many things that were set up, like the fact that the hive mind means that everyone feels like a similar sense of pain when Vecna feels it. That's the whole reason why the Demodogs in, I think it was season 4 or something, maybe it was 3, Steve uses a flamethrower on the Demodogs and they all feel it. That was something that they put into the world, and now it doesn't matter. I also think that it obviously should have been Will who lands the final blow. I totally get Joyce having a lot of trauma just from everything she's experienced, but her being the one to land the final blow was crazy to me, because Will clearly has been affected by Vecna, like from the very start. All of them have their own traumas that is associated with Vecna, but I thought that Will was clearly the character to be the one to sever his connection to Vecna. Like, but ever since the beginning, they've been playing weird with this character, because why did he have hope for Mike to reciprocate his feelings, only for that to not be the case? And also, why did he come out? I know it was because Vecna is telling him, like, you have to come out because I'm going to reveal your secret for you. But that's just such a sucky, I don't know, both of these plot points are so sucky for Will's character. Like, he accepts himself, and his, like, and the first thing they do is weaponize his sexuality against him. I'm just so... They, like, weaponize his sexuality against him, and for what? Just for him to not be the one to stick it to Vecna for a last time. I'm not even, oh my gosh, don't even get me started on the tower scene where Mike is like, coming out wrong, sorry, and Will is like, it's all right. Will is like, well, we could be friends. Do you still want to be friends? Mike is like, friends? No way. Best friends. I have a genuine question. Do you hate your fans? Do you hate your fans? Because why are you setting them up like that? You could have just said, we're friends, best friends. Like, why did you say no way after building this up for so long? Like, genuinely, that was diabolical and evil. But also, not even to get ships into it, because I'm fine with there being an 11 in game. I'm fine with there being a Byler one, of course. I like Byler better. I think they have better chemistry overall. That's just me. But the idea of Elle dying and then going into Mike's mind to tell him that she loves him one last time, and he doesn't say, I love you back, is diabolical to me. And then playing Purple Rain? Guys, I legitimately think that, like, the only way you write this is if you hate your fans. Like, I think you legitimately hate the people who watch your show. I think think you actually hate them, because why? Legitimately, why? You couldn't have gotten them to say I love you to each other. Like, I legitimately thought we were being pranked, especially when Purple Rain played. I was like, that's a choice. That is a choice. Purple Rain is like a gay anthem, and you're telling me that these two straight people, like, and the other thing is, right, I'm down for whatever endgame. Why not play like a song like Time After Time? Why did they play Purple Rain? Purple Rain is, and people were like, oh, it's because they met in the rain. There are so many songs about the rain. You could have chosen any of them, but I feel like this was just like, to me, like, just such a, like, in your face, like, and I'm trying not to say the word homophobic because, but it's definitely a choice. I don't know. Like, knowing that you have a lot of gay fans, it's just interesting to use a song that is associated with the gay community and for a heterosexual couple. I like Elle's character, but the way that they treated her this season just made me so upset, and I don't like that moment where Mike and her speak and he doesn't say that he loves her back. Then obviously we see Elle, who has been abused and experimented on her whole life, most likely die. It's implied that in the interview they imply that she most likely died. And if you believe that she lived, that's fine, but I still don't think that's much better because she doesn't know anyone and she's basically away from all the people who ever loved her. Like, I don't think either of those are like a happy story for someone who's been abused their whole life and just wanted to be accepted and find themselves. The Duffer Brothers have always had trouble writing Eleven, but after season 4, it seemed like they really knew where they were going to take her story, and it seemed like she was taking back a lot of the validation that she got from outside influences and make this girl make this insane choice to the people she loves, and especially to reduce Hopper's love for Elle as just being a replacement for her daughter was like so just a slap in the face to all of your fans. Like, I really am trying to empathize, but I feel like there's so much that just slaps your fans in the face and says, like, we don't care about relationships that we developed in our own show. We don't care, and that these people are just replacements for other people and we're just replacing pain. Basically feeling like Will, she says, like, I don't belong here, I don't belong in this world, and they proved her right. It's just more of my problem is we are told that all the characters move on, they go to college. I kind of want to see that, and maybe it could be a montage or something. Kind of expands on what their future could be instead of like leaving it up to interpretation. I feel like that was the big issue with all of the endings, is that the Duffer Brothers were just like, okay, so it's up to the audience to decide how things end. Like, even with Elle's ending, you know, Mike imagines at the D&D table in the basement, he imagines that she's in Iceland and there's a place with 3 waterfalls and she's off, you know, at another village, you know, able to live her life without them. The Duffer Brothers basically told us in an interview that that is unrealistic and probably didn't happen, and she probably did die. So what is the point of it being left up to audience interpretation when we know that the power things were on, and it could be just Mike coping with the fact that she is dead? And that's not even the worst of it. Like, that's not even the worst of it, because and then we have to talk about the Will of it all. Will was always queer coded, but they had him come out in the second to last episode of the series, and then they give us an epilogue boyfriend after he was rejected by his lifelong love. Like love of his life, like soulmate, or just love of his life. My thoughts on epilogue boyfriend is that I hate him, and I don't like him. I don't like him very much. Nothing wrong with Chance himself. I like the actor, but he's given a love interest at the complete end of the series and basically is saying that he should settle for being accepted because him desiring like romantic love is too much and that you should just settle for self-acceptance. Like, we don't see him go after any love interest the entire series. It's not even something they want to explore until the very end. Like, they completely sidetracked his personality, his character, in favor of creating this love triangle, which didn't amount to anything. So that sucks. And another thing, in this epilogue, this basically reduces Will's character to just being about his sexuality. Like, there's other aspects of Will, like his creativity. That's like one of the biggest parts of Sorcerer, which is the fact that he was drawing, he was building things, he was creative, and we don't get to see any of those things play out in the epilogue. The only thing that we get is that he's gay and might have a boyfriend, and so sad. And I got a comment also that was like, well, everybody needs to learn about rejection, straight people and queer people alike. And I was like, first of all, like, straight people are not constantly rejected by society. And that's the entire point of having queer storylines be the focus of TV. Places where they're not rejected, places where they're accepted, in fact, loved for themselves and being themselves. And I can't help but think of Heated Rivalry in the way that they, of course, that show is targeted towards gay people, but the way that they did Shane's coming out scene was just so much better than the way that they did it for Will. And the way that they've treated his character all throughout this really shows that they reduced him down to just being like, his character, I feel like, is more important than his sexuality. And the epilogue just doesn't show that. And so it makes me upset. And then obviously the creators coming out to say that Byler was never in the cards is just a cherry on top, when Will was clearly a pivotal point in the love triangle. He just was, and he was paralleled with other major couples who did become canon throughout the series. So it's just very strange, which makes me question, okay, so why were there so many scenes between Mike and Will? And why did we not have Mike and Elle featured more heavily? A lot of people have said that the Duffer Brothers chickened out on having Byler be endgame. Erasing Will's story is clearly going to upset people who relate to him. And not being able to see him be happy is just so sad after he struggled for so long with his crush on his best friend. Which now to me reads as, why did we have to see Will struggle so much? And in the last season, and in this season specifically, when it wasn't needed. And then we get to Mike. Mike is acting differently, and he's completely one-dimensional and all of this stuff. I mean, his character basically becomes Elle's boyfriend, the 11 and Mike in-game. I just wish it was set up differently through this season, where Mike, I don't know what happens in the 18 months before, but whatever happens in between then season 4 and then gives Will hope for some reason. I wish they shut that down and gave Will a love interest, someone, maybe the character that they were going to have in the epilogue. And then Mike and Elle become like a very strong focus of this season, so that when she is in his mind and she says I love you, it means something, because it just doesn't feel real. And a lot of people are like, he's been in love with her since she was young. Yeah, but last season they had a very clear issue that he could not say that he loves her, which is like such a big issue in a relationship. I'm only bringing this up, not that it fixes the writing and the setup from previous seasons, but because it makes more sense. I do think that the finale needed a Byler endgame for Mike's character to not be like a terrible person. Like, not only is he a bad boyfriend because he can't say he loves his girlfriend, but now he's also a bad friend because he neglected his friend's very obvious feelings for him. And I think that they also knew that, and that's why they changed Mike's D&D status from paladin to storyteller. And if you are not aware, a paladin and a cleric are very intertwined in D&D, which is probably why they changed it to a storyteller and the mage. And when Hopper talks to Mike, he basically says that you have two choices: to accept Elle's choice or to keep blaming yourself for things you could have done differently, which is just such, like, Mike ends up alone in this ending, and it's just very sad. And I like the idea that this is his type of Vecna vision, that his story, there's a possibility for his happiness. He doesn't have to conform to societal standards. Jonathan got into NYU even though he would never be able to afford it, which was the entire issue of why he didn't really want to go to college initially. Nancy is working at another journal, another office where she does investigative journalism, even though when she did that before, it was all a boys' club. And also she dropped out of Emerson. Why would you drop out of Yale? Steve is teaching baseball to kids and has a new crush on some woman who we don't know. He's falling into the same trap of it, idealizing someone. And when he says that, I don't know, guys, maybe she's the one, he is literally has not changed, conforms to the idea that he is supposed to be in a relationship to be happy. We don't see Vicky and Robin together because it's left up to interpretation whether you believe they're still together, even though Robin talks about overbearing exes, which makes me think that they're not together, which destroys like one of their only out gay couples in the ending of the show. Then after that we have Lucas and Max. Lucas is fine. They don't really develop his character more than being the best boyfriend in the whole series and being by Max's side. And then it feels like Max kind of feeds into the anger that she has the same way Billy did. And she does not want to be like Billy. She has said it herself. And it's just so weird to have this character who's been like physically abused or even like verbally abused in all these ways, then go around and be like angry and destroy things and break things, which directly links her to someone she never wanted to be like, but is also thriving in her relationship with Lucas. Dustin is going to college, but we don't really get to see what he studied, what he does. They could have tried to explain a lot. Like the painting shows up in Mike's room, and I guess he's just gonna forever believe that it was commissioned to him by Elle, even though Elle has no idea what that painting is about. We don't know what November 6th is about. We don't know why Joyce forgets Will's birthday and forgets that Will is 11 when we know he's 12 based on the missing persons posters. And the fact that all the events of Wrinklemania take place on his birthday, they're all just errors, I guess, or plot holes. The fact that everyone forgets Will's birthday is just a plot hole. And honestly, I don't know, because writing an ending must be very difficult. And when you have characters from marginalized positions in society, you have to be careful about what you're telling those people who are in that position, what you're telling them about their own future. The ending really doesn't do justice to a lot of the characters in Stranger Things, but I just feel like everything the Duffer Brothers have come out to say about the finale ruins it even more. Like there's just very few positive things I can say, and most of them are just about Hopper's conversation with Elle, the fact that the graduation is not only for the characters but for the actors who probably didn't get that. It wasn't a good ending to me. After Elle went into Mike's mind, I thought that we might possibly see him being Vecna, and after that point I was surprised by how nothing got resolved and how one of our main characters just ends up alone. And leaving it so open-ended is an odd choice. All these allusions that they made to other media like A Wrinkle in Time, Back to the Future, how do those relate to the time issues that happen in this series? And does anything mean anything? It seemed like all of the music, the costuming, the messaging, some certain things just don't make sense now because of the finale. They did have a large audience of people who don't fit into or conform to societal standards, but I feel like with the majority of the endings for the characters, it doesn't get to the heart of the show, which is that you do belong in this world and you can find places that you are accepted, and that there are places where you will be accepted with open arms. And with some of these endings, it kind of seems like it's the opposite. That's my thoughts on the ending of Stranger Things. I was really disappointed. It's been one of my favorite shows to watch every couple of years, and you realize how much you've grown with the show, and realizing that I was probably like 12 when I first watched it. It's crazy. I didn't really see it ending this way, not even for Will's character, but for pretty much all the major characters. I didn't expect for them to end it that way. I thought we were going to actually see characters in their endings, but honestly, the writing was going in a completely different place from volume 1 on, and honestly from the end of season 4, season 5, it was just completely different. I think Conformity Gate is such an interesting idea, and I like the fans coming together to create a new ending almost. I had fun making my video on Byler, so I won't be taking that down. And even though it's not canon, I still think that their relationship was something that was heavily featured in the show, and they did have a lot of parallels and consistency to one another. A little bit of a rant, but I guess I'll just end it by saying one of my favorite Stranger Things quotes, which is your mom. Thank you guys for watching my video, and Happy New Year. It's 2026. Bye, Ireland. Bye, Ireland. Bye, Ireland. I'm gonna go watch the new Adventure Time show. Okay, bye. Almost 8:30 at night. I did this thinking that CVS was closed and I wasn't going to be able to pick up the photo until this morning. Also, it's an 8x10, and I think that's now in hindsight that might be a little too big. They had to put it in here so they know what it is. It's huge. Look at this. Oh my god, there's no way. Oh my god, this is huge. Oh my god, it's so pretty though. Oh, I should have put my signature on it. It's right there, if you can see it. I made it. It took me like 3 days and delayed this video. So, yeah, I'm pretty good. You wanted to see me draw it? Guys, it happened off screen.